Thank you very much, Renata. And I'm going to ask all our panelists, if I could please, to make your way up to the stage. Take your places at the tables. And I'm going to operate much more informally, I think, than we had earlier in the session. I do want to say, while the panelists come to the stage, and this is everybody, this is, I don't know if we've lost some. We should have quite a few more. Former chairs and vice chairs, please all come up. Okay. Okay. Okay, Sir John. Yeah. Okay, good. That's good. You have to be at your table, at your working group table. All right. I didn't realize that you had not been informed of this. Let's figure this out. Hold on just a moment. I have the list. Okay.
I don't know. Is there? But you want them to hold them all together?
Yes, please. Sir John, Chin.
Okay, then we move.
And wait at table 1. Okay, table 2 will be, let's see, Bob. Yeah. You're here, okay. Bob, you're here, okay, good. Wow. And Jim, you're here, and Julie is here, okay. Good, and very good. It's not the same as herding cats, I assure you. Okay, while we're getting settled, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Christ and Dr. Pachori as well. It really is a pleasure and an honor to be with you here in Geneva to celebrate the 2-decade anniversary of the IPCC. As Renata said, I'm Ralph Begleiter from the University of Delaware in the United States, and I probably don't have to hint that Delaware is in the United States anymore since the nomination of a vice presidential candidate to be Vice President of the United States comes from Delaware. Probably everybody knows where Delaware is these days. As you can see, we have a rather large and esteemed group of speakers this afternoon, so I'm merely going to set the stage and then off we go. From my perspective as a journalist and a layman on climate change issues, the most important angle, the most important single contribution that the IPCC has made over the past 20 years is the one singled out by a couple of the speakers earlier and by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, namely succeeding in bringing climate change to the lips of almost every citizen and business in the world, as well as a general understanding of the carbon problem itself. Accomplishing public attention is no small feat, because public attention drags with it the political pressure and the power needed to make concrete decisions, tough decisions that are required to solve the problem. But the hardworking scientists on the IPCC accomplished much more than that over their past 20 years, although that was the citation issued by the Nobel Prize Committee. There have been numerous breakthroughs in the science and in the interpretation of data, which have gradually led to the very powerful messages that the IPCC has been able to disseminate in the last couple of reports. These scientific breakthroughs have been chronicled publicly in the IPCC reports, but today, on the 20th anniversary, it is quite fitting to highlight this important chronicle of accomplishments. To do that on the stage, you have before you the scientist leaders who accomplished that work. And before we even get started, I'd like to ask that all of us here recognize and thank these great men and women who've been involved in the IPCC's work for their mostly unsung service to all of us. Now, our plan for the evening is to ask 3 of these leaders whose working group reports have by now become important environmental history to remind us of the highlights of the achievements of the IPCC. We have to keep in mind that when the IPCC was first formed, I don't think anyone would have imagined the global impact their work would have had. Sir John Houghton of Great Britain chaired the first IPCC working group from its inception until 1992. Then he co-chaired it for the next decade, and even after stepping down, after a dozen years at the helm, Sir John remained highly active and can be credited with leading the effort of laying the foundation of the IPCC's physical science. He has served as Vice President of the World Meteorological Organization and as Chief of the British Meteorological Office.